You're about to enjoy a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands.
Have you ever felt that you as a woman may not appear to measure up when you see incredible women in strong roles? You may be surprised when hearing from women in these positions and how we all share many of the same challenges. Thank you for joining us for the SheEO Lead-In podcast with Rebecca Jones as we share the journeys of women.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Jones, your host of SheEO. We are on an exploration together to discover more about the personal journeys of incredible women in both career and life. We all have paths to share that sometimes take incredible turns, deep resilience, and courage to navigate. My hopes are that the challenges shared here encourage women to take leaps of faith and growth when a journey feels too difficult or unachievable. There is great strength deep within each one of us. These stories are meant to share the ways strong women have taken their dreams to strive and thrive to new heights despite their sometimes rocky paths and found a way to lead in. So today we are here with Judy Fitzgerald from Alternatives Medical Clinic. How are you this morning, Judy?
Good, Rebecca. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. We're very excited to hear all about your amazing and incredible life. And so we're going to start out just by asking you a question. Do you have like a short story from your childhood that people may not know about you?
Oh, gosh. I'm one of 10. Yes, I'm one of 10, and I was born in the United States, lived in Mexico for a while, and when we came back, my parents worked hard, made sacrifices. We all came back legally, and we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment for about 3 years. And even though that sounds hard, it was actually a lot of fun. I just have really good memories from that.
Wow,
Yeah.
That is incredible. Well, so how did that lead you into what you do today? And tell us a little bit about your past and what you do. What does a day look like in your life?
Well, it's really interesting. The parts of my past that have actually led me to where I am today are actually parts that were the hardest. So it's not the things that worked out for the best for me at that time, but the things that I learned from going through some pretty tough trials. And just after years of experiencing those trials, just of being empowered by another woman and being able to step up and step out of where I was at and then just be more courageous. And what I'm speaking of is I was molested from 7 to 17. I clearly remember that. And I do have some pictures, just in my mind that it was happening even before that. So, at that age, especially in high school, a lot of your identity is based on what other people tell you or how they make you feel. And when I was 11, I had actually asked the abuser, I asked him, "Why are you doing this to me?" And he turned it around and he said, "It's because you're so sexy," at 11. So not being equipped with the life wisdom and not having been directed by anybody, on how to handle a situation like this, I believed that lie for years. So it wasn't until I was 17, and again, it was still continuing, that a woman came to speak at my high school. And so I was in the audience, and she was a rape advocate, a sexual assault advocate. And she just looked out at all of us, and she said, 1 in 3 of you have been victims of some form of sexual assault, some form of sex crime. And that just felt like somebody poured a cold pitcher of water on me and just woke me up. And I looked around and realized I'm not the only one. And she just really empowered us by saying, I say us because I'm sure there were others in the audience with me. She empowered me because she really, was telling us how basically everything that I had experienced, that the abuser would turn it and make the victim feel responsible. And then also the guilt and shame of it, to where you do feel responsible, so you're afraid to share it with anybody. You're afraid to ask for help. And that's how, the victim's controlled. She also gave us tools on how to stand up for yourself, and then also what the laws were, and then also an education on how an abuser works. So when I was leading my life back then, I thought it was just me that was being abused, but getting the information from her, saying they like a certain type, they like a certain age group, and you're not the only one. So that just kind of flipped something on me, turned on a switch in me, and I went from being abused to becoming a protector. So I went to the abuser and I said, this is the last time. You're never going to do this again. If you do, at that time, it was a felony. It still is a felony. But at the time, the statute of limitations was 7 years. And so I said, from this date, because I remember the last time you hurt me, I have 7 years to blow the whistle. If you touch me again, or if you touch my little sister, because I knew that, now that I knew that the abusers don't just have one victim, I felt a responsibility to protect my little sister. And from that, the speaker didn't realize that she had planted a seed in me. And I didn't realize how it was going to take root. You just don't think about those things. So from victim to protector, and then later on, I chose a career in law enforcement. And so now it was justice. And so I didn't realize it right away, but over time, I found that I was really drawn to help or even take over cases in the field where there was rape, child molest, anything having to do with abuse, with the family or just anything having to do with sex crimes or, victimization, really. I would step in and I would take it over because those are hard cases to deal with. And so they'd be more than happy to hand it to me. But I really just felt a responsibility to step in and in the process of investigating, really speak truth into the girls and letting them know it's not your fault. It's not your shame. It's not your guilt. It's the abusers. This is not your identity. You can choose not to let it be, and you still have a purpose.
Well, honestly, wow, that's incredible. Judy, I'm so proud of you for your transparency, but also bringing a voice to the voiceless, because a lot of women, I think, I too have a background of being molested, and I think a lot of us really have a difficult time to get through that. And again, what you said earlier, you take on that shame and then it really does hurt you and make you think that you can't do things with your life and that you no longer do have a purpose. And I would say that a lot of women are not sure what their purpose is in life. And it's very tough to find that, especially when you have been victimized. But I think you probably look at yourself the same way that I do, in that I'm a survivor. And I think, okay, what can I do to help other people? Because I think you do. You become an advocate because you want to use some of that pain and make something good of it. And I'm really proud of you that you did that, and that you broke out of that mold, because a lot of women don't have the courage to. So today, when people are listening to what you had to say about all of that, I hope today that other women look at that and say, you know what? I'm no longer going to be a victim. I'm going to be a survivor, and I'm going to find good in that pain and that damage to bring healing, to bring restoration, and to bring something new to all of that. Because I think a lot of women really need to hear this today. I think it's incredible that you're sharing that. So now today you've shifted from law enforcement, and now what are you doing today at Alternatives?
Now I'm the executive director of Alternatives. And if you were to ask me at any point in my life if I ever would see myself in this position, it would be absolutely not.
I say that too all the time. I get that.
Yes. So, and with that, you were sharing about, other women learning from our stories. And it's one of those things that I think that when women or anybody really, when they go through something, it's important for them to be able to share with other people. We're not to waste our pain. We're to help other people go through and, to get to the place of healing. And so I think that being transparent is very important. But another thing that's really important is, and for anybody that's listening, sometimes bad things happen to us. And it's not, it's beyond our control. But we can control how we handle it, how we come out of it on the other side. But then also, there are some things that we cause to happen, that we've made the decision, that also give us a lot of guilt and shame and regret. And again, those things that really can be paralyzing, that can just keep you stuck. And so in my case, it was an abortion at 18. Again, I'm one of 10, Mexican family. I was a Christian. But getting pregnant was one of those things where I just felt it was going to shame my family, and what were people going to think of me, and how would I raise this baby, and what would people at church think of me, So with that, even though I was a Christian, I went through with it because I decided to believe the lie that it wasn't yet a child. And coming out of it, years later, I realized, I had a lot of healing to do with that. And, I've gone to counseling and, the taking steps to just being able to ask for forgiveness, number one, and then also being able to forgive myself to move forward. Because if we, as either victims or people that have done something that we regret, if we're not able to do that, then again, we stay stuck, and we're not able to really just step into what we're purposed to do and make an impact.
Right, and to become your true self. And, I think a lot of times many women and people in general really look at things that happen that are very tough to deal with and things that are not positive in their life, and they look at them as damage. And they can no longer see all of the things that they could actually achieve. But I actually think that it gives you more credibility when you're talking to people like today. I hope that people are listening and saying, okay, I've had to deal with this. I've dealt with this. I've made this decision. And now how do I move out of that? Because again, not being stuck. How do I move forward and, create the impact in life that I know that I can achieve, or I think I may not be able to achieve because of this? And so I really appreciate that. So at Alternatives, back to what you're doing. So what do you actually do every single day? I'd like for the listeners to hear about, what your job is and what your role is in this at Alternatives.
Well, as executive director, you're just seeing, all the operations, basically. As far as my role with what I bring to the table, I stepped into an organization that was very well organized, and, it was running like a well-tuned machine. So stepping into that and taking the gifts and talents that, I gained through my other experiences, and then also as a business owner, I'm just really, reconnecting with a lot of the contacts that I've had in the community, and just going out and just letting people know who we are, what we do, and trying to make a positive impact and trying to help young men and women. So we're focusing on the unborn, we're focusing on the mother, and we're focusing on the young man, because young women don't get pregnant by themselves. So just making sure that we're holding the spotlight up high enough to where we're including the man, because it really does take everyone involved in this pregnancy to be able to, provide for the child or make better decisions. We're also taking a more proactive approach, too, in that we're really pushing for education on sexual purity, on the effects of having, a number of different sexual partners. And so it's educating. It is really trying to mentor. We are starting a mentorship group for the young men. A lot of them, we have found that those that tend to engage in sexual activity without thinking of the consequences, and then they impregnate this young lady, and then they run away from the responsibility. Usually it's because they come from a fatherless home or a home with not the best role model as a father. So the stance we're taking with the community outreach and starting this mentorship program is just really trying to break those generational cycles. And the generational cycles, maybe starting a new one. And if they are fathers, to just set a new cycle for success for the child that they're now raising and for covering and being able to provide.
So you provide choices. You provide options, opportunities for different choices. A lot of people don't want to talk about generational things that are happening in their families. A lot of us have them. I mean, there's so much stress and strain on our families today, more now than ever, because what is a normal family? It looks so different sometimes. I mean, sometimes you have, people that get divorced that have kids and then, can integrate into now bonus parents, as some of my friends are calling it that, which are step parents. But all of these different things that happen in life, I love that you're providing opportunities for people, talking about different things, and that a man and a woman are the parents of a child, and that they, kids need both, right? Not just one, but both. I've told all of my friends that when they get divorced and all of that, your kids need both of you because you do provide different things to those to the children. So anyway, I like that you're focusing on that. So just talking about your career now and all of the things that you're doing, what really do you think sent you here? I think because I think it did choose you because of your past and the things that you have gone through. I think it makes you uniquely qualified to do this job. But what are some of the things that you would say really you bring to the table in this job?
I think that, the past experiences as far as, the victimization, and then also what I did to have to face those negative consequences of my own choices. And as you said, those things actually qualify somebody. If you come out the other side, it qualifies you to speak on that and to speak truth to those that are going through it, and hopefully to help them, go towards healing. And one thing that I do want to go back to that you mentioned as far as the family unit, and that is true. The family unit doesn't always look the way, it used to. I'm a step parent myself, and so I was the bonus parent, and absolutely it's it's a challenge, but it's a decision, and you really have to keep in mind what's best for the child and being able to co-parent well. And so that's one of the programs that we offer through the courses that we offer is how to co-parent, and even the simple life skills that sometimes aren't taught.
Well, it's an intentional choice. And you really, it can be hard. My parents got divorced when I was young, so I definitely saw some of the things that did not go well at all. And I do have a bonus parent too. And so I think talking about these things is really important. So just kind of looking at success with what you're doing, what do you see as success? I think it's probably, and I could be wrong about this, but I think it's probably just getting people to talk about different things and giving them options, and then how do they move forward? Because everyone has their own path that works best for them. But what do you think? What does success look like for you in your job?
Well, I think in what we do, when I've been invited to speak at certain to certain groups and such. And on the drive there, my goal, my success is this conversation that I have. If there's one person I need to reach, just let me reach that one. Because it's that one person that you plant a seed in, and they're going to take that, and you don't know how it's going to, how fruitful it's going to be. And you may not see the results of it, but yet it is fruitful. It is also impacting others. So to me, that is the success. And also just knowing that you're providing hope. You're providing hope for these young men and women that are coming through our doors, and because they're scared. They see what I saw when I was 18, and you just have this veil over your eyes, and you're looking at the circumstance, and you don't have the wisdom life experience to see that there are so many options out there. And so just hope by just giving them the education on what everything really looks like as far as whatever choices they're considering. And then also just letting them make the informed decision. So we inform them and we provide them hopes. If they decide to, and what we want is for them to keep the child. And if they go in that direction, then we provide them hope by coming alongside them. And if it's helping them attend a technical school or getting a job or going to college, we do provide scholarships, and we do help with job placements. We give them assessment tests, and then we go out to the community through the chamber or businesses that are also interested in investing in the future of the people in their city. And so basically it's just my biggest thing is hope.
Well, and I think you definitely have taken the seeds that have been planted in you from a pretty early age, from both what happened to you, but then also when you heard that speaker. And then, moved it forward. So you're paying back, which I love that. You're paying forward. You're investing back into the community in those ways. So I would imagine that every day for you is probably fairly emotional because you have a lot of people that truly are scared and you're instilling hope in people. But what does that look like? How do you take work and life and juggle those two and your responsibilities?
It is a very emotional, thing that we do. I really think of the nurses that when they know that the patient that's coming in is intent on having an abortion, and their process of, being able to educate them well and wondering if they did everything they could and not knowing what the outcome. So it can be emotionally draining. And then also those cases where they do in fact know that this young lady decided to have an abortion. As far as being able to handle that, and one thing that I've shared with the employees is, we really need to make sure that when we're away from work, that we are fully present with our families. And I've instructed, we kind of made it a policy that we're not to call anybody on their day off to remind them of something that is work-related. It's not fair to their family. It's not fair to them. I want them to rest, get filled up, come back rejuvenated, and be able to face whatever is coming in that day, just to be healthy and not to get burned out.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I think has to happen. Otherwise, they can't invest what they need to invest every day because it is emotional. Kind of looking back at all of the things that you've been through and moving forward, I'm kind of excited to see what you'll do next because really from law enforcement, well, let's even go back further than that, from having a past where you had probably some shame. I know I did for many years. And then taking that shame and making it into this no longer a victim, but a survivor mode, right? That whole mode. And then moving forward and becoming an advocate. And then now becoming someone that can share your experiences, share all of the things that you've been through to help others make a decision that's right for them. I think that's really cool. But what are you kind of thinking? I mean, are there new policies or things that you're planning on bringing forward at Alternatives? What do you think about that?
I think what we have as far as policies, I think the CEO that was before me, Tammy DeArmas, she just really did an incredible job. As I said, it was already a well-tuned machine. And so all those things are in place, which I'm very grateful for. I think in terms of moving forward, I'm really focusing on just reaching more, just a greater outreach. We've been in the community, for 36 years. And so just making sure that people know who we are, what we do, and they're not confused, of what we do. We are not an abortion clinic. And then also know that we're going to receive people no matter, what your background is, your sexual orientation. We also receive people back who have had abortions. And, they've come to us, they've had abortions, and then they call us, and we receive them, and we help them through the healing. We try to provide the resources to help them heal. And so really it's the restoration. So we're just really focused on just expanding that a bit more. And, preventing the pregnancies, hopefully, and supporting if they have the child. And if they decide to have an abortion, we want them to come back because, they need some healing. And because I know what it's like to stay stuck.
Yeah, giving them hope and loving them where they're at.
Absolutely. We're not going to be judging them. Just come back.
And I think a lot of people don't understand that. They think, oh, well, and that's part of the shame, just going through things and, you've got to forgive yourself. Yeah, I think first and foremost, right?
Yes. And I'm so glad you brought that up because my father-in-law and I are very close. He's my dad. And I tell people that I met my dad when I was 25. He knows everything about me, everything. And we were having a discussion about the abortion, and I told him, I know God's forgiven me, but I just can't forgive myself. And he just looked at me and asked me, well, are you greater than God? Well, that kind of got me. And I said, well, no, I'm not. And then he said, well, then who gave you permission to take that sin back? So it's just, one of those things as far as forgiving yourself. Yes, if you've asked for forgiveness, if you've allowed yourself to go through what you have to, there is going to be a lot of pain in trying to sort through to get to the restoration point. But I just see a picture when I think the hardest thing is even after you think you've forgiven yourself, you still go back to that shame. And so I use the analogy as far as what I saw. I saw a picture of, the cross and just me walking with a heavy, wet, matted coat, dirty, and asking for forgiveness, digging up the dirt at the foot of the cross, burying it there, and then just having a nice, white, pure, clean robe put on. And I'm walking away forgiven, but then I turn back and I try to dig that coat up again. So it's just a reminder, to say you can't go back there.
Well,
and
it's
if you
changing
do,
your mindset.
Absolutely.
You have to totally shift that.
Uh-huh.
So when young men come in and you're talking to them and you share what you've been through, how does that affect them? How do you think they receive that?
I haven't shared that at the clinic yet. We really just have the nurses talk to the clients, to the patients that come in. We want to give them their privacy. If it is needed and I'm called, I will. I have spoken to some high school classes, and I've been able to share that story. And I haven't received any feedback. But again, my hope is that, planting a seed. But again, just being transparent and then just having them know that, which is how I end. If you have any questions on this, if you want to talk to me, if you need direction on where to go from here, reach out.
One of the things, this is just kind of a weird analogy, but during the pandemic, I think the whole masking has really helped people that don't want to be seen, and they're hiding. And I think that one of the things that we always have to remember in life is taking off that mask, as you've done, is very freeing. And it really does lead you to a point where you can become your true self, which is what you're meant to be, right? And
Yes.
all of the things that we go through in life and we struggle with, and I hope that people that are listening today to this podcast can really believe and understand that all of the things in our journey, good, bad, all of us shapes who we are, and it's okay, and it's good to be transparent, to talk about it, because you will find you are not the only one. I remember in the beginning you said, yeah, I thought that I was going to be, I was maybe the only one. And now here I am. I realize 1 in 3.
Absolutely.
1 in 3
Yes.
are walking the same journey as me. Of course, they all look very different. But how do you get to be who you are? And that part's going to always look different.
Yes. I think that pushing through the fear of being transparent, it's easy to think, like this role that I'm playing now. It's like, wow, what are they going to think if they know I did this? Or what are they going to say if they knew I went through this? Just the things that we tell ourselves that really want to make us go and hide. And so if you're facing that, then that's a sign that you actually have to push harder to push through it. Because pushing through it on the other side is very empowering. And that's where the good works really start.
Well, taking that mask off and being authentic.
Absolutely.
And you can't do that if you are hiding. And so, I really appreciate everything that you've said today. I think it's very empowering and very inspiring. And on a last note, I want to hear one word or one word to young women. What would you say if you want just one thing that you could say to them that will be inspiring to help them move forward in their lives?
One word or
well,
one
not
phrase?
one word, one message, one message, yeah.
Don't be afraid. You're stronger than you think. As scary as it feels, take that first step. And then the second step and third step and the ones to follow aren't going to be as scary. And you'll be stronger. You'll see what your true identity looks like.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. Thank you so much, Judy.
Oh,
really
thank you.
Appreciate you coming here today, and really your authenticity and sharing everything that you have. I really think that everyone listening today, whether they're a male or a female, I think they will really be inspired by everything that you've said today, because it's just so truthful and raw and authentic. I really appreciate it. That's one word I would use for you, by the way, is authentic.
Oh, thank you.
So, anyway, thank you so much. And we will definitely take everything that you've said here today and take it to heart, and remember that in our journeys too.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now that was powerful. We hope you've been lifted and encouraged by today's inspiring voice. Always remember that life doesn't look exactly the same for each one of us. Never stop dreaming, striving, and thriving. In future episodes, we look forward to bringing you powerful stories from amazing women who learn how to lead in to challenges. Thank you for listening and being part of our community with SheEO host, Rebecca Jones.
You have been listening to a Cloudcast original. Local stories, local storytellers, local brands. Find more stories at cloudcast.us.